Hello everyone, I'm Geek Freak and welcome to the video. Isn't animation grand? To anime, to adult cartoons, to kids cartoons, or animation in general, from the very old to the very new. We have CGI, we have 2D animation, we have clay animation, the old black and white cartoons. Cartoons can be silly, deep, giving you that awe and wonder. They can make you laugh, cry, and question things that you didn't really think about until that animation brought it up. And there are cartoons that question your morality, and regardless of your race or gender, you can actually relate to the characters on the screen that are a different race from you, but they're going through the same thing that you're either going through or have been through. You don't need to be the same race in order to feel how that character is feeling. Cartoons have given me some life-changing lessons and gave me so much joy in my life. From Hanna-Barbera to Disney to Cartoon Network, anime, Tex Avery, they were all fantastic. Now, when it comes to the old stuff, you barely see them on TV anymore. I mean, yeah, you'll get reboots like Tom and Jerry, you'll get reboots like the Looney Tunes, and you'll get continuity like Boruto and Dragon Ball Z, which will go into Dragon Ball Super. Now, back when I was a kid to my teenage years, I loved watching cartoons. And unlike today, back in the day, Cartoon Network and Toonami and Boomerang and other cartoon channels would show us not only the new stuff, but the old stuff as well. You know, repeats. There was a balance between the old and the new. And you know what? That's what I liked. They would show us the old and the new stuff. And it's been many years since I've watched Cartoon Network and Boomerang. And sometimes when my nephew's around, when we're trying to find something for him to watch, we would go past Cartoon Network. And most of the time, it's just Teen Titans Go. And when I was having a look, I didn't see any of the old stuff. But hey, I was just glancing at the channels that was in the cartoon section. It just seems to me that the old stuff isn't on Cartoon Network. And you know what? That's a shame that kids these days won't be able to experience the old cartoons and the new cartoons at the same time. And when I grew older, when anime started to become popular, I would shift away from cartoons and watch anime because of how cool they were. You know, like Dragon Ball Z, Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, Cardcaptor. I mean, come on, Cardcaptor had a freaking awesome opening. I mean, yeah, I didn't watch every single anime that came out, like Sailor Moon or Shaman King. But yeah, I'm getting off track. I went from watching cartoons to watching anime, simply because anime was giving us some really cool stuff back in the day. Giant robots, fighting, space operas. Anime to me was cool back in the day, so I went from cartoons to anime. But I will never ever forget how much joy cartoons in the West brought to my life. And that includes the old stuff and the new stuff back in the day. Now, you guys are probably wondering why I made this video. And just to let you guys know, it wasn't to tell you guys my memories I had with cartoons and to say, oh, they brought so much joy into my life. No. The reason why I made this video is because some time ago, I saw this video on a channel called React, and there was a video called Do Kids Know the Looney Tunes Characters? And when I watched that video, most of the kids didn't even know who the Looney Tunes was. And I was shocked by this. The fact that they didn't know who the Looney Tunes characters was. I mean, sure, you're going to have like one or two of them who knows these characters, but it really saddened me that some of these kids didn't even know who half of these characters was. I mean, I grew up with the Looney Tunes, and I got a laugh out of the Looney Tunes. They was enjoyable, they were funny. I mean, if you was to say, oh, I'm going to go and watch a cartoon, the first thing you're going to think of is probably the Looney Tunes. But for these kids not to know who half of these characters are was just heartbreaking, because the Looney Tunes are the greatest characters in cartoon history. And that is why I decided to make this video today. I am going to be giving a list of classic cartoons for you guys and for young kids to go and check out. So if you have like a little brother or sister, or if you're a parent, please introduce them to classic cartoons like the Looney Tunes. But not just the Looney Tunes, I am going to give you guys a list of cartoons that made an impression on me when I was a kid. But I'm going to be making a few rules. Number 1, no anime, because that's a completely different list altogether. This list is going to be about Western cartoons. Rule number 2, all the cartoons on this list is going to be pre-2010. So nothing past 2010. Any cartoon that was created past 2010 won't be on this list. And listen, I'm not saying that, oh, I watch cartoons up to 2010. I'm just saying that I watch the majority of cartoons below that point. And anything after that I didn't really watch anything besides from a few shows like Gumball. I mean, yeah, sure, there's going to be some animations that I did watch past that point, but it's going to be cartoons that I knew from my childhood or in my teen years. And number 3, reincarnation of shows won't be on this list. Like, you got the golden age of Looney Tunes, but there was reincarnations of the Looney Tunes that was remade. For example, the Looney Tunes show that was made in 2011 to 2015. And there was a recent incarnation of the Looney Tunes. So yeah, keep that in mind. Rule number 4, this list is going to contain only animated series, so no movies. I might make a list of animated movies at some point, so look forward to that. And listen, if an animated series that you like isn't on this list, or if you're questioning my placement for these series on this list, I'm just going to say this: I haven't seen every single cartoon in the world pre-2010. In fact, it should have been 2005 really, but I did see a few cartoons till I finished somewhere around 2010. And this list isn't going to be from worst to absolute best. It's going to be a list. It isn't going to be the top greatest, where the worst is at the bottom and the best is at the top. So get that idea out of your heads. It isn't going to be that sort of list. And again, I haven't seen every single cartoon, and these are going to be cartoons that left an impact on me. And some cartoons you would expect to be on a list like this may not be on this list. Some of you at the end of the video will probably say, oh, where's this cartoon? Or, oh, where's this cartoon? It won't be on this video because I didn't like it. It's either I didn't really watch it, or it didn't really leave an impact on me, or I didn't know it existed. So if you guys don't see your favorite cartoon on this list, and you're a YouTuber, then please make your own list. It doesn't mean that I don't like your favorite cartoons. These are going to be cartoons that left an impression on me, and some will have some historical reasons for being on this list. I mean, for all you guys know, there could be some black and white series on this list, and only because they're in black and white doesn't mean they're bad. For me, I think it's just a shame that all cartoons aren't seen by the younger generation, and that is why I made this video. You can both watch the new and old stuff together. I mean, I really did enjoy the old stuff when I was younger, and I didn't just watch the new stuff, but there was a perfect balance between the two, the old and the new. And also, one more thing, the series in this list isn't going to be part of a company like Disney, Hanna-Barbera, Warner Brothers. It's going to be a mixture of series from different studios. The majority might come from one studio, and some from not so well-known series. And so, with all that said and done, let's resume with the list. This is my list of cartoons for the younger generation to check out. Now, my first suggestion for you guys is the Looney Tunes, the golden age of the Looney Tunes, which was 1940 all the way to 1965. Now, these are the best era of the Looney Tunes, and that's not to say that anything before 1940 or anything past 1965 were bad, but to me, I think 1940 to 1965 was just the best in my opinion. And yes, there has been other reincarnations of the Looney Tunes Babies, Lunatics, the Looney Tunes Show, and so on and so on. But to me, this era was the funniest and the more boldest, and they had stuff in this that wouldn't pass in today's PC culture. The Looney Tunes were made not just for kids, but for adults as well. In fact, this era of the Looney Tunes, as they feel a bit more grown up, but at the same time, they were cartoons. I mean, there was no like smut or anything like that in this era of the Looney Tunes, but they did feel like they were more mature in this era. Now, if you guys was to ask me which Looney Tunes cartoons for you guys to go and check out, and if you was to ask me, oh, which one is the better cartoon so I can go and check them out, well, the thing is, there was over 1,100 or somewhere around that number cartoons of the Looney Tunes. Now, as for the main cartoons or cartoon characters, there was Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, Sylvester and Tweety, Speedy Gonzales, Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam, Marvin the Martian, Pepe Le Pew, Leghorn, Foghorn, and of course Granny. And there was a few others. Now, those are the sort of cartoons you would probably think that you're gonna get if you was to watch any of these Golden Age cartoons. But that isn't the case. There was lesser known cartoon characters and standalone cartoon characters. So what I'm trying to say is, don't just think that it's just these characters I mentioned on this video, but it's also other lesser known Looney Tunes characters and standalone Looney Tunes characters. So like I said, there's 1,100 or somewhere around those lines of Looney Tunes cartoons, and the only way for for you guys to find the best cartoons is to look all the way through them for yourselves. Because my favourite cartoon shorts of the Looney Tunes might not become your favourite. I mean, for all I know, you guys' tastes might be different from mine. My favourite short might be your most hated short. And yes, I know some of you are thinking, you're thinking that I'm too lazy to give you the names of cartoons of the Looney Tunes shorts. But, as a matter of fact, I do have a suggestion for you guys, and that is to buy the box set of the Looney Tunes. Now, just to let you guys know, I do have this box set of the Looney Tunes, and it's called Looney Tunes Golden Collection, and it's got Volume 1 all the way to Volume 6, and it has over 360 episodes of the Looney Tunes shorts. Well, some say it's 350, some say it's 375. I'm not really sure of the exact number, but this box set will get you guys started on the Looney Tunes. At the very least, it's a start, and when you're finished with it, you could probably try and find the rest somewhere else online. But if you guys was to twist my arm and ask me which of the Looney Tunes cartoons I think is the best, or is my personal favourite, I mean, to be honest, that would be really hard to do, but I think it would be Sylvester and Tweety, Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, Daffy Duck, and Bugs Bunny. But like I said, you guys are going to have to go and check out all the Looney Tunes cartoons and figure out for yourself which one is your favourite. And that box set I told you guys about, you guys can find it on Amazon. So remember, it's 1940 all the way to 1965. That was the best era of the Looney Tunes. But if you guys disagree, and there was more better cartoons after and before that era, then please leave it in the description box below and tell me which era of the Looney Tunes that you like. But saying that, I highly recommend you guys go and check out all the Looney Tunes cartoons. They're lovable and funny. And so with that said, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is also from the Golden Age, but this time it's going to be the Golden Age of Disney. And this include Mickey, Goofy, Donald Duck, Pluto, and Silly Sympathies. Now, when it came to Silly Sympathies, and yes, I know I botched the name, but Silly Sympathies was something like cartoon shorts where it wouldn't star the main cast. Like, we all know Bugs Bunny, Daffy, Porky, Sylvester and Tweety, and all that stuff. But there would also be cartoons that wouldn't star the main cast. Again, like Bugs Bunny, Daffy, Porky, etc, etc. They would be their standalone cartoons. And Silly Sympathies was just that, because the main cast to Looney Tunes counterpart was Mickey, Donald, Goofy, Pluto. So with Silly Sympathies, you would get random cartoons that didn't star Goofy, Mickey, Donald, or Pluto. But I have seen these standalone cartoons, and they're really, really good. There's too many of them to say which ones you guys should go and check out. So you guys are going to have to go and check out Silly Sympathies for yourself. And just to let you guys know, these cartoons will take place from 1940 to 1965. And when it came to Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy, and Pluto, well, to be fair, Mickey was barely even in the 40s to the 60s. It would usually be Pluto, Donald, and Goofy. In the earlier cartoons, before the 40s, it would always usually be Mickey. I mean, his cartoons were like innocent enough, and Mickey would get into like all sorts of hijinks, which was all well and good, but he wasn't the star of the 40s to 1965. No, the two stars of the Golden Age of Disney, to me, was Donald, Goofy, and to a lesser extent, Pluto. Now when it came to Mickey, he's the leader like Bugs Bunny's the leader of the Looney Tunes, and Bugs had his own good moral shorts. Even in the Golden Age, the concentration was mostly Goofy, Donald, and to a lesser extent, Pluto. And when it came to Pluto, I mean, he was okay. He got into all sorts of hijinks involving bones or a cat, a seal, and he would be alongside other characters like Minnie, Figaro, Mickey, Donald. Pluto was safe. He was harmless in his cartoons. But when it comes to Donald and Goofy, OMG, these two are so freaking funny. Now, if you guys was to twist my arm and say, okay, which one is your favourite out of Donald and Goofy? And you know what? It's hard to say, because both Donald and Goofy have made me laugh equally. Now the thing is, Goofy has been in, to what I've researched, is 59 shorts since 1940 to 1965. But Donald Duck has been in 128 shorts since 1940 to 1964. So Donald has had a lot of cartoons. Now, when it comes to Goofy, Goofy was more of the everyman that could relate to adults in a way, back in the 40s to the 1960s. Now, there is a video made by the Nostalgia Critic, Is Goofy Secretly Badass? The Nostalgia Critic explains how badass Goofy is, so please go and check that out. And if you guys want the DVD set of the Goofy shorts, go and check out the DVD set, The Complete Goofy. That'll have almost all the Goofy shorts. Goofy was violent, he was a smoker. Basically, he's completely different to the Goofy that we have today. And you know something? I absolutely loved him in the 40s and the 60s. He wasn't kid-friendly like he is today, but my god, he was a great time. Now, when it comes to Donald, Donald was a great ride. If you ever got Donald angry or nothing went his way, he would lose his mind, and he would sometimes be teamed up with either Chip and Dale, which, in my opinion, is the best team up when it came to the Donald Duck cartoons. Chip and Dale and Donald was super funny, and sometimes Donald worked alongside a bee, or ants, or a mountain lion, or his nephews, Huey, Dewey and Louie. And sometimes he would be in propaganda cartoons. You know, the army, the navy, you know, it all took place in World War II. Okay, I think Donald Duck was a little bit funnier than Goofy, but hey, that's my opinion. And again, I do love Goofy, I really do. And there was some good Silly Sympathy cartoons. But like I said with the Looney Tunes cartoons, you're going to have to go and figure out which ones that you guys like. Now, even though I knew there was 1,100 Looney Tunes shorts, I'm not really sure how many Disney shorts there are, you know, altogether. I mean, I'm going to go around for a guess, and I think it might be somewhere between 300 and or 350. I could be wrong, you're going to have to fact check me. If you guys know what the exact number of Disney shorts are, please let me know in the comment section below. But I'm sure it's around 300 or something. I mean, Goofy's got around somewhere around 56 episodes. Mickey's got somewhere around 50. I think Pluto has somewhere around 80. Silly Sympathies have 75. But like I said, I'm not really 100% how many Disney shorts there are. So please, go and check it out for yourself. But the main two is definitely Goofy, Donald, and Silly Sympathies. I do apologise for this segment, because I had absolutely no idea how many Disney shorts there are. But they are somewhere around the numbers I said. I'm just not sure how many exactly. And so with that said, let's move on to the next one. Now, when it comes to the next one, they're sort of similar to the Looney Tunes and the Disney shorts. And the next ones are the Tex Avery cartoons. Now, just to let you guys know, it was difficult for me to try and figure out how many Tex Avery cartoons there are altogether, because not only did Tex Avery have a hand of creating the Looney Tunes cartoons, but he also made his own cartoons as well. And he also did other works, I think. And the thing is, I did try looking up how many cartoons he made. I mean, one source said he made 144 cartoons, one source said he made 99 cartoons, and another source said he made 67 cartoons. Now the thing is, I only want to concentrate on the cartoons that Tex Avery made, and has nothing to do with the Looney Tunes. And like I said, I don't know the exact number of cartoons that he created himself that had nothing to do with the Looney Tunes. So you guys are going to have to go and fact check me after this video. I think it might have been 67 Tex Avery cartoons. Again, I could be wrong. It could be 144. But if there is any cartoon experts that knows the exact number of cartoons that Tex Avery made that wasn't involved in the Looney Tunes, please let me know in the comment section below. Now, just like the Looney Tunes, the Tex Avery cartoons also had, to a lesser extent, a face of his company. Like, you had Bugs Bunny for the Looney Tunes, you had Mickey Mouse for the Disney cartoons, and I think, to my knowledge, the cover child for the Tex Avery cartoons was Droopy. Now, when it comes to Droopy, Droopy was hella funny. I believe he was around in 24 to 27 cartoons of the Tex Avery cartoons. My favourite cartoon of Droopy is when he's chasing the wolf that escaped from prison. And there was all sorts of cartoons with Droopy. Sometimes he would be paired up with Spike the Bulldog, and sometimes he would just be by himself. And there would also be other cartoons like Screwy Squirrel. I really like that character, but sadly he was only in 5 episodes. And there was also Barney Bear, and also there was that wolf that would always whistle at the girls, and he would go after them. And just like the Looney Tunes and Disney shorts, there would be those standalone cartoons where it wouldn't star Droopy or Spike or the wolf. They would just be their own thing. Like, my favourite cartoon is the episode Who Killed Who. I mean, it's really silly and really funny. It was a sort of like murder mystery. I mean, I swear, it was just really, really funny. And I think the golden age for Tex Avery, I mean, you guys can fact check me on this. I think it was 1940 to 1950, or it could be 1960. Jesus Christ, I mean, this was the golden age of cartoons. All the good cartoons was around this era. But like I said, yes, there were some good cartoons with Droopy, Spike the Bulldog, that wolf, Screwy Squirrel, and there was these 2 bears that got into all sorts of hijinks. Like, I remember this one time where they was trying to prevent fires, and whenever the big one gets in trouble, the small one would kick the big bear's ass while they were trying to prevent a fire in the forest. So yeah, the Stars of Tex Avery was fantastic, and the standalone cartoons were fantastic. I think they were much more goofier than the Looney Tunes. I mean, when it came to the Looney Tunes, there were things that, seemed more believable. But when it came to the Tex Avery cartoons, it felt a little bit more, sillier. And you know what? That's what I liked. And I do believe you can get the Tex Avery cartoons on box set. Just look up Tex Avery on Amazon, and you'll find all sorts of sets and box sets. But like I said, you're going to have to go and check exactly how many cartoons Tex Avery made for himself that wasn't involved with the Looney Tunes. Again, it could be 144, or it could be 67. I mean, come on guys, cut me some slack. I'm not a cartoon expert, I'm a cartoon enjoyer. And so that said, let's move on to the next one. Now, with the next one, I'm going to do a little bit of cheating here, because the last 3 segments was about the Looney Tunes, the Disney shorts, the Tex Avery shorts, and every single one in those categories were just shorts that took around 6 to 10 minutes for each episode. And sometimes, if not most of the time, they would have the main lead like Bugs Bunny or Goofy or Droopy. But the next one is going to be the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Now, unlike the previous installments, the Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters each had their own series. Let me give you an example. There was Yogi Bear, Top Cat, Huckleberry Hound, etc, etc. And the episodes could range from either to 15 minutes to 30 minutes to an hour. I'm not really 100% sure exactly how long all of them have, but I think the average is either around 25 minutes to 20 minutes. Again, I'm not exactly sure, but each cartoon series of the Hanna-Barberas wasn't shorts like the Looney Tunes or Disney or Tex Avery cartoons. So this is going to be a little bit of cheating. My top Hanna-Barbera cartoon series that was made by this company. And just to let you guys know, at the end of this list for the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, you guys are probably thinking, hold on, where's this series? Or, oh, you forgot this series. Or, oh, I can't believe you didn't mention so-and-so on this list. It's obvious that this certain series that should be on this list. And yes, I know what some of you are going to think and say at the end of this list, but I want to let you guys know something. There are some Hanna-Barbera cartoons that I think deserves their own segment on this list. I mean, not in the Hanna-Barbera list, but in the next segment after at the Hanna-Barbera segment. Because the cartoons I want to mention next after the Hanna-Barbera segment, I think deserves their own segments because they are so famous. And that's not to say that the Hanna-Barbera cartoons aren't important that I've put onto this segment, but you guys will understand why I did it this way. And listen, if your favourite Hanna-Barbera cartoon isn't on this list, then please make up your own. Or maybe I just didn't find certain Hanna-Barbera cartoons not as attractive as the other Hanna-Barbera cartoons. But hey, that's my opinion. So here's my list of Hanna-Barbera cartoons that you guys should go and check out. And the first one I want to talk about is Top Cat. Top Cat is one of my favourite Hanna-Barbera cartoons. It was made in the 60s, and I think it only had 30 episodes. But basically, it was about a cat named Top Cat, or TC. And Top Cat would be with his gang, trying to come up with ways to make money. And they would get into all sorts of hijinks. And they would also have a policeman called Officer Dibble, who always tells Top Cat to stop using the police telephone, or he tells them to clean up the alleyway, or tells TC not to get into any trouble. But despite that, TC and his gang and Officer Dibble are good friends. They get into all sorts of hijinks, from trying to make money to helping Officer Dibble out, all sorts of stuff. And even though Top Cat is dirt poor, he really does enjoy his life being with his gang and his fun time with Officer Dibble. And you know what? That's a good lesson. Always make the best of what you have. For me, I just love Top Cat. Now, when it comes to the next Hanna-Barbera cartoon, I'm going to put 2 in 1, and that is Wacky Races and Dick Dastardly and Muttley in their flying machines. Now, in both of these series, Dick Dastardly and Muttley are the stars of these 2 series. In Wacky Races, Dick Dastardly always tries to cheat in their wacky races, but all the time, him and Muttley would lose. And there was all sorts of characters in the wacky races. Penelope Pitstop, Peter Perfect, the Slag Brothers, the Creepy Coop with the Gruesome Twosome, the Reg Max, the Ant Ill Mob, the Army Surplus Special, there was the Buzzwagon, there was the Converter Car, and the Arkansas Chuckabug. I mean, all these races are goofy, but like I said, Dick Dastardly and Muttley are the stars of this series. But they always lose, because they keep on cheating. I think the lesson to this is that cheaters never win. And you know what? That's a good lesson to teach kids. And when it comes to their other series, Dick Dastardly and Muttley in their flying machines, basically they've got to try and capture a Yankee Doodle pigeon, and they're flying in their flying machines to capture the pigeon, and that's all they do, trying to capture that damn pigeon. I mean, even when they're doing a hard day's work with no cheating, they still can't win. But hey, I give them an A+ in determination, even after falling out of their planes after so many times. For me, I just love Dick Dastardly and Muttley. I mean, they're just the classic villain, and who could forget Muttley's signature laugh? Okay, that was a bad example. And Dick Dastardly has been in a few more cartoons after. There was Yogi's Treasure Hunt, there was the Fender Bender 500, where there was racing again against Yogi and his friends. There was Yo Yogi, and there was a reboot of The Wacky Races in 2017. But instead of concentrating solely on the racing, they would do episodes on their day-to-day lives, and not just the racing. And my favourite incarnation of Dick Dastardly is his appearance in the movie Scoob that came out in 2020. And my god, Dick Dastardly stole the show when he was in that movie. So yeah, I really do love Dick Dastardly and Muttley. They're such memorable villains. There was Help, It's the Air Bear Bunch, and it was about 3 bears living in a zoo, and they tried to do all sorts of scams and try outsmart the head zookeeper, Peevely. This was a fun cartoon, and sadly there was only 16 episodes, and it was made in the 70s. For me, I thought it was fun. And just to let you guys know, I want to get past the Scooby-Doo clones. Well, after Scooby-Doo became a huge success, Hanna-Barbera would use the formula of mysteries, and there would be a bunch of kids, and they would have a zany sidekick, you know, with Shaggy, Daphne, Velma, Fred, and of course Scooby-Doo. But like I said, there was a lot of clones, or rip-off shows, that they took from Scooby-Doo. Now, even though there was quite a few of them, there was some of them that I did like. There was Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels. He was basically a very hairy caveman, and there were these 3 girls solving mysteries. And basically, Captain Caveman was the very first superhero. There was Goober and the Ghost Chasers. And again, this has the Scooby-Doo and those meddling kids trying to find ghosts. But in this case, Goober was actually a ghost. It was basically Scooby-Doo except with a ghost dog. There was Jabberjaw, which basically had a team of kids who was also musicians, and they fight crime. And they had the mascot Jabberjaw, who was a shark, and he could talk. There was the Funky Phantom, and again, it had teenagers that were solving mysteries, and their mascot was a ghost. Well, a ghost man and his cat, which was also a ghost. And of course, they were solving mysteries. And finally, there was Hinch High Private Eye. And basically, it was about a detective or a private eye alongside his niece and his assistant, along with his dog, Braveheart. And they have to solve mysteries while trying not to get fired by his boss, AJ Finkelton, because he doesn't like Inch High one bit. And Inch High is very small. I mean, literally, he is an inch. And to me, I think Inch High Private Eye was fun. I mean, it was unique. I mean, it was no Scooby-Doo, but it had its moments. And there was also Josie and the Pussycats. They were musicians, and they solved mysteries, and their mascot was a cat. And there's a sort of love triangle in there somewhere. And also, fun fact, there was an episode where all the Scooby-Doo clowns got together, and every single one of them got together with their counterparts. It was fun, and that's all from me when it comes to the Scooby-Doo clowns. And I know there was some others, but the ones I just mentioned are the ones that stood out to me. And I really wanted to get the clowns out the way first, before I carry on, so please go and check out these Scooby-Doo clowns. And so, let's continue. And the next one is Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy. And to be fair, I really do love Hong Kong Phooey. The opening itself is fantastic. And basically, it's about a dog who is a janitor, and he's working in a police station. And whenever a villain pops up, Henry, who is also Hong Kong Phooey, alongside his cat, goes out fighting crime. And it's a lot of fun. And again, I absolutely love the opening to Hong Kong Phooey. It's definitely worth the watch. It had around 16 episodes and was made in 1974. Hong Kong Phooey is definitely worth a watch. And the next series is Dynomutt Dog Wonder. Okay, Dynomutt Dog Wonder is a sort of combination between Batman and Inspector Gadget, because there's another character in this series called Blue Falcon, and he's basically the Batman of this series. And Dynomutt is if Inspector Gadget was a dog. And basically they're superheroes trying to beat the bad guys. And Dynomutt has been in other Hanna-Barbera shows as well. Hell, he was in the Scoob movie. Hell, Blue Falcon and Dynomutt was actually in Dexter's Lab. And Blue Falcon and Dynomutt has been in a few movies there and there. They're not actually a bad deal, to be honest. In fact, I think they would make great superheroes in the modern day. There has been a few, 1 or 2 reincarnations of this duo, and he has been featured in 1 or 2 films, either in a cameo or there was with Scooby. I believe Dynomutt's first appearance series had about 20 episodes, and I do think he had other series, but you guys are going to have to double check for yourselves. And the next one I want to talk about is Scooby's All-Star Laugh Olympics. And basically, Scooby's All-Star Laugh Olympics is basically the entire Hanna-Barbera universe coming into one. And it's a satire of the World Olympics. You have the Yogi Yahooies, I think. There was the Scooby Doobies and the Really Rottens. And they have to compete with each other in all sorts of challenges. I mean, nearly every single Hanna-Barbera cartoon character is in this series. Okay, not every single one, but if you guys was to see who was on the team, it would all make sense. I think it was the most popular characters that was facing off against each other, and obviously the Really Rottens would sometimes cheat. But hey, it was fun to see all these characters come together in one series. And I think there was about 24 episodes, so I highly recommend this series. And the next one is Godzilla Power Hour. Now, when I was a kid, I used to watch this. I mean, not religiously, but you guys obviously know who this is. It's God freaking Zilla. And basically, this Godzilla is like the Godzilla series that came after the 1998 Godzilla, where they would face off against other monsters. So if you're a Godzilla fan, I highly recommend this series. And there was 26 episodes. It's a must if you're a die-hard Godzilla fan, but hey, still give it a go. There was the Quickie Koala show, where a wolf was trying to capture Quickie and eat him, but he was too quick for the wolf. And there was other characters like the Crazy Claws and Dirty Dog. And this show was 16 episodes long. I mean, it's something exciting, but it's harmless. And the next one is The Smurfs. The Smurfs started in 1981. And get this, there was 256 episodes. Again, it started from 1981 and ended in 1989. The Smurfs are very popular. And basically, all sorts of things happen in this series. The Smurfs either have to deal with Gargamel, who wants to either turn them into gold or eat them, or there could be other side villains. There are just so many things that go on in this series, and it is harmless, and the Smurfs are very enjoyable to watch. I mean, come on, consider it had 256 episodes. It also had 7 specials, and I believe it had 2 live-action movies. The Smurfs are a fantastic series to watch. And so, on to the next Hanna-Barbera cartoon. And the next one is Pac-Man. This is also a cartoon from the 80s, and I believe there was around 42 episodes. And this cartoon was based off the game, so if you guys want to get your kids into these cartoons, make sure you go and tell them about the Pac-Man game as well. Now, the next one I'm going to be talking about is The Pirates of Dark Water. Now, this cartoon was actually one of my favourite Hanna-Barbera cartoons, because unlike the rest of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, The Pirates of Dark Water was dark. It had adventure, it had finding treasure, it had winged beasts and wizards, and there was this dark water that swallowed everybody alive. So basically, there are these 3 people and a monkey bird who is going all over the world trying to find these treasures. And I'm not really 100% sure what they do. I mean, for all I know, the treasures could be very, very variable, or they had some magic properties in them that could push back the dark water. And sadly, this series was never finished. And I'll say this one was really, really good. Okay, maybe really was a bit strong, but it does feel like one of the most mature out of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And this series came out in the 90s, and it had about 21 episodes. And you want to know something? The Pirates of Dark Water deserves to come back, and deserves to be watched. And not only that, I think it should be resurrected as well, and have them carry on with the story. I know this segment has got me all hyped, but The Pirates of Dark Water was very well written. So this is one of those Hanna-Barbera cartoons that you should check out, but it's one of those Hanna-Barbera cartoons that I highly recommend you check out first, or one of the first cartoons you should check out from Hanna-Barbera. It's one of the most serious series that was made by Hanna-Barbera. So yeah, this series is somewhere near the front of Hanna-Barbera cartoons that you should definitely go and check out. And the next cartoon is The Fish Place. Now The Fish Place only ever had 6 episodes, and it sort of had this adult edge to it. And basically, it's about a fish who's a cop and he's got to try and defeat the bad guys. The thing is, I don't think this series would be suitable for kids. Teenagers, maybe. Kids to teenagers. And the next one is Capital Critters. And it's about these mice or rats that lives in the White House. And sometimes they would talk about politics, drugs, that sort of stuff. Capital Critters was one of those preachy cartoons that always try to teach you something about the current issues of the day. This series can get dark when it wants to be. It had 13 episodes, and so on to the next one. And the next one is The Addams Family 1992. Now, this version of The Addams Family is how I would picture The Addams Family, because there has been loads of incarnations of The Addams Family. I think there was 3 live action movies. I think there was 1 CGI movie. But yeah, anyways, this version of The Addams Family was the incarnation that I grew up with. And if you guys don't know what The Addams Family is, it's about an oddball family who likes the dark and weird. To them, that is normal. It's actually one of my favourite Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and there's been over 21 episodes. This is one of the series that I definitely say that you should put somewhere near the front. And the next one is Captain Planet and the Planeteers. Now, I will say this about Captain Planet and the Planeteers. It is extremely preachy with its environmental messages and its messages on a few drug episodes and along other things. And basically this series is about a couple of kids or a group of kids with these magic rings, and they come from all over the world like China, Africa, America, the Soviet Union, and when they put their powers combined, they bring out Captain Planet. And you know what, listen, even though this series is cringy and it's very, very preachy, but this series was a guilty pleasure to me. And I know this series was trying to teach us some good lessons and good morals. And if you ask me, I think Captain Planet and the Planeteers was a decent show. And this series had 113 episodes. Only half the series was made by Hanna-Barbera, but I'm still counting it as a whole. So remember, it has 113 episodes. So if you guys want to teach your kids something, I highly recommend Captain Planet and the Planeteers. And the next series is The SWAT Kats, the Radical Squadron. Now, this is also another dark series. The music was great. Well, the opening was great. And it's about these 2 anthropomorphic cats who rebuilds this old jet plane or something, and they use it to defeat the bad guys. And I'm telling you guys, it can get dark at times. This was one of those rare Hanna-Barbera cartoons that was cool. So again, this is another series that should be at the front of Hanna-Barbera cartoons that should be watched. And the next one is Dumb and Dumber. And basically it's about these 2 friends who are really, really stupid. And they're in their car that is basically in the shape of a dog. And they're driving around everywhere alongside their pet, Beaver. And they get up to all sorts of mischief. And this series is based off of the comedy film of the same name. I believe there was 2 movies to this in live action, and it only had 13 episodes. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Yogi Bear. Now, when it comes to Yogi, Yogi has had a lot of incarnations. You could almost say that he's the star of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Well, I mean, some people will say, oh, it's Scooby-Doo, some people will say it's Tom and Jerry. But in my opinion, I think Yogi is, kinda sorta, the face of Hanna-Barbera. But in truth, Huckleberry Hound was actually the very first star of Hanna-Barbera. And it was Yogi who came along and stole the spotlight. In the series that I grew up with was in 1988, the new Yogi Bear show. And Yogi will try anything and do anything to try and get his hands on a picnic basket. And he would get into all sorts of shenanigans. And the show had 45 episodes. It was in the Huckleberry Hound show. And Yogi would be in 9 other series, including the new one, Jellystone. And thank God I am finished with the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Yeah, it's actually the end of this segment when it comes to the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And listen, I know what some of you are going to say. You're going to say, oh, but Geek Freak, there are other series that you forgot to mention. Why haven't you put The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, or Two Stupid Dogs, or The Powerpuff Girls? Wait. Hear me out on something first. Okay, number 1, there was a reason why I left some Hanna-Barbera cartoons out. And it's either one or 2 things. It's either, number 1, I didn't watch the series, or I didn't like the series. That's why they're not on this list. Or number 2, the ones I did like, but isn't on this list, like Two Stupid Dogs, The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, The Powerpuff Girls, etc, etc. Now, there is a reason why I didn't put those on the list. There was a few more, but I'll get to those later. Now, the reason why I didn't put them into the Hanna-Barbera section is because, well, those cartoons felt more of a Cartoon Network sort of segment. So yeah, there's going to be some Hanna-Barbera cartoons that should be in the Cartoon Network segment. And that's where some of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons that I didn't mention on this segment, I'm going to mention those ones in the Cartoon Network segment. Oh, and also, you guys are probably wondering, oh, where's the Flintstones or where's Tom and Jerry? Well, the reason why I didn't mention those is because Tom and Jerry and the Flintstones are way too big. they overshadow the other cartoons that's in the Hanna-Barbera section. So I'm going to give Tom and Jerry and the Flintstones their own segments, even though they're Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And so the next segment I'm going to be talking about is the Cartoon Network segment. Now, just to let you guys know, there are a lot of cartoons within the Cartoon Network segment. I was originally going to make a top 10 for the top 10 Cartoon Network series for young kids to go and check out. But when I went back, it turns out there were more I wanted to add, so I had to stretch to 20. And just to let you guys know, if there's a series I missed, I just want to let you guys know I haven't seen every single cartoon on Cartoon Network, and there was some I didn't like. These are going to be the cartoons that I've watched. So obviously it's going to be having a bias. And on this list, it isn't going to be from bad to good. It's just going to be random ones on the list. But I will say which ones you should go and check out first before you go and check out the rest. And so that said, let's move on to Cartoon Network cartoons. And number 1 is a classic and one of my personal favourite shows, Ed, Edd and Eddy. This series came out in 1999 and ended in 2008. It had 4 specials, a movie and 65 episodes, and it had 6 seasons. Ed, Edd and Eddy was one of the greatest cartoons on Cartoon Network. Seasons 1 through 4 was fantastic. Season 5 was kind of the weak link, but it had its moments. The series rarely had any bad episodes. It's about these 3 kids, which are called Ed, Edd and Eddy, and they try to scam the other kids out of their money so they could buy themselves some jawbreakers. This series is funny and enjoyable to watch. This series is definitely a frontrunner for cartoons that you should definitely check out first. I love this series and it's definitely worth the watch. And the next cartoon is Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. This series came out in 2004 and ended in 2009. It has 79 episodes and had 18 shorts. Now to me, this series was funny, and basically it's about a kid named Mac and his imaginary friend Blue. Now Blue lives in a foster home for imaginary friends, and his best friend Mac comes to see him every day, and they get into all sorts of hijinks and misadventures. All the characters are all colourful, the animation's really nice. Now sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes Blue can be a little bit annoying, but that's just part of his personality. And you have other characters like Eduardo, Coco, Wilt, Mr. Harriman, and Frankie. And one of my favourite episodes is this episode, Blue. The atmosphere in that episode was great. And just imagine this. It's about a house full of imaginary friends. And the imaginary friends in that house are pretty damn creative. So yeah, it's a definite must for Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. It's a fun, funny series. And so with that said, let's move on to the next one. And the next cartoon is Courage the Cowardly Dog. And it started in 1999 and stopped in 2002, and it had 52 episodes. Now, Courage the Cowardly Dog was one of those rare series that made you laugh and made you scared. It's about this dog Courage, and he lives with his owners, Muriel and Eustace Bagg, and loads of crazy and scary things happen in Courage the Cowardly Dog. And Courage always tries to fend off against villains, monsters, and sometimes they can be scary, but it's enjoyably scary. It can be scary, but enjoyably scary. And so, let's move on to the next one. The Powerpuff Girls 1998 to 2005. And yes, I know there's a reboot, but this is the one that you guys want. The 1998 one. That one is the better one. And it had 78 episodes. And basically, it's about 3 girls with superpowers, and they go around trying to beat bad guys. You know, monsters, criminals, like Mojo Jojo and him. I mean, if you guys want girl power, then this is the series that you would love. A superhero girl series. This one too should also be at the beginning of stuff that you should watch. And the next one is He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And its second season, Masters of the Universe versus the Snake Men. And it was made in 2002 and ended in 2003. And it had 39 episodes. Now, even though it lasted only for about like a year and a half, and it's only got so few episodes, I'm not gonna lie, this version of He-Man is fan-freaking-tastic. I mean, yeah, sure, don't get me wrong, we've had loads of incarnations of He-Man and the Master of the Universe, but this is the He-Man that I grew up with. So basically, it's about a boy who wields his magic sword, and he uses the power of Grayskull to defeat the evils of Skeletor and other evils. And the second season is when the Masters of the Universe are facing off against the Snake Men. Now, here's the thing. In this series, there was a lot of build-up. Well, you know sometimes when you get one of those series that goes back to the status quo, and everything just goes back to the way it was before that event? Well, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe 2002 was a continuous story, introducing us to new heroes, new villains, and we're shown some backstories to characters, and slowly but surely, we get loads of hype and loads of foreshadowing of certain villains and certain heroes. If you ask me, I think that this is one of the best He-Man series. And even though it's not finished, well, basically they cancelled it after season 2. And it really was a shame, it really was. There was loads of things that was unanswered and things that they didn't show, like Prince Adam's sister, the Supreme Evil Ordak. There was so much build up to this series. And only because it's unfinished doesn't mean it's bad. He-Man 1998 was fantastic, and I highly recommend it. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Samurai Jack. And it was made in 2001 and ended in 2004. But years later it came back in 2017 for a season final, and altogether there are 62 episodes. And basically it's about a samurai who tries to kill this evil known as Aku, but he gets flung into the future where Aku has taken over the world, and he has to try and get back to the past and undo the future that is Aku. The animation in this is really good. The action in it is really good. In the first 4 seasons, it was tame, but when it gets to season 5, OMG, the violence goes up. It's got adventure, it's fun, it can be scary, it's definitely worth a watch. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Teen Titans. And no, it's not Teen Titans Go, it's the original Teen Titans. It was made in 2003 and stopped in 2006. It had 65 episodes and 1 movie. Now, Teen Titans had a mixture of funny and being serious. It kind of sort of had that anime-ish look when it came to the expressions, and each season got better and better and better. And basically the Titans have to defeat the bad guys, criminals, etc, etc. And they have to go through all sorts of enemies, ranging through Slade to Trigon. There's sadness, betrayal. It is just an all-about great series. But the problem is, the final season was rushed. Well, the last episode of the final season was rushed. And I'm pretty sure there was supposed to be a 6th season. At the very least, I think so anyways. So yeah, Teen Titans is a fan-freaking-tastic series. So make sure you go and check that out, not Teen Titans Go. The original is much, much better. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next series is Static Shock. Now, Static Shock is another superhero series. And it's about this kid who gets these superpowers from breathing in this gas. And now he's got the power of electricity. I believe it came out in the year 2000. And it had 52 episodes. And believe it or not, Static Shock actually had crossovers with the Justice League and Batman. So yeah, this is another series that's definitely worth a watch. And speaking of the Justice League, let's move on to the next one. And it is the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. And this series started in 2001 and ended in 2005. And basically it's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the Green Lantern, the Martian Manhunter, the Flash, Hawkgirl, who are obviously superheroes, face off against all sorts of evils. There was Lex Luthor, Gorilla Grodd, and they were getting into all sorts of adventures. And believe it or not, the Justice League, Static Shock, and Batman the Animated Series, and alongside others, was actually part of a DC animated universe, something similar to the Avengers or the Marvel movies. In fact, it's eerily similar to the Avengers. You know, it started with Iron Man with Marvel, and it started with Batman in DC. So yeah, I highly recommend you guys go and check out the Justice League. It had 91 episodes, and again, it's great. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Batman of the Future, or, as they say in the States, Batman Beyond. This was made in 1999 and ended in 2001. And it had 52 episodes. And basically, this takes place in the far future where a new Batman comes in, and the old Batman teaches the new Batman how to be Batman. And Batman Beyond is just as dark as the original Batman. I wouldn't say it's deep as the original Batman, but it is a decent cartoon in its own right. And it's also part of the DC animation universe. So it's up there with Static Shock, the Justice League, and Batman. But I'll get to him later. And the next cartoon is Megas XLR. It was made in 2004 and it ended in 2005. And it has 26 episodes. And it's about a guy named Coop. And he finds this giant robot and he fixes it up. And he has his best friend Jamie. And he has his other friend, Kiva, who is from the future. And they get into all sorts of shenanigans with this thing. They face off against the Glorth, which are a bunch of aliens that wants to take over the world. And Coop stops them every single time with his badass skills of piloting Megas. But the thing is, all these things that happens to the Earth and Megas and Coop are just all afterthoughts in his mind. It doesn't concern him unless it affects him. So in a way, it's kind of a parody show in a way. But it's still cool. I wouldn't say it's a frontrunner of shows that you have to go and watch. But it's still cool. And this series also had the He-Man effect where it didn't have the proper send-off and ending. But it was still good. And the next one is Ben 10. And this series started in 2005. Now, just to let you guys know something, I haven't seen Ben 10 other than watching videos on YouTube on who Ben is, what the series is, you know, that sort of stuff. And to this day, I think Ben 10 is still going. Now, I know what some people are going to say. They're going to say, oh, but Geek Freak, why would you put Ben 10 on this list if you haven't seen it? Well, the thing is, even though I haven't seen Ben 10 is still worth a series that's worth watching. I mean, otherwise, the Ben 10 fans are going to be pissed if I didn't mention Ben 10. I mean, not that I'm afraid of the fans, it's just that I do recognise Ben 10 as one of those series that you should watch because of all the videos that I've watched on Ben 10 on YouTube, like who he is, what his powers are, his misadventures, you know, that sort of stuff. There was Ben 10 2005, Ben 10 Alien Force, Ben 10 Ultimate Alien, Ben 10 Omniverse, Ben 10 2016, Ben 10 the live action movie, and Gwen, which is an anime series that's based off of Ben's cousin. And I believe there's about 5 movies, and there was crossovers, and so on and so on. And it's basically about a kid who has this device that can turn him into any alien he wants. And he fights off against bad guys, other aliens. Ben 10 is one of those cool cartoons. And Ben is probably the most powerful character in any media. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Goku vs Superman. So yeah, it's definitely worth the watch. And some of you are probably thinking, okay, so which one should we watch first? Well, I highly recommend you start off with the 2005 one and work yourself up to Gwen 10. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. Okay, so more or less I've got all the cool cartoons out the way. Now some people say, oh but Geek Freak, why wasn't there a segment for Toonami? Well, to tell you the truth, more or less, Toonami was part of Cartoon Network back in the day. So Toonami was more or less about cool cartoons and anime. I mean, come on, you can't compare Batman with cartoons like the Looney Tunes. But hey, the Justice League, Static Shock, Batman are the cool sort of cartoons. So hey, Cartoon Network and Toonami was more or less two sides of the same coin. One side was silly, one side was cool. And so with that said, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Two Stupid Dogs / Super Secret Secret Squirrel. Now even though Two Stupid Dogs and Super Secret Secret Squirrel are both Hanna-Barbera cartoons, Two Stupid Dogs is one of those series that is harmless, and it doesn't really have much going for it, but for some reason, Two Stupid Dogs was one of my favourite things to watch on Cartoon Network back in the day. It was fun, funny, and as for its segment, Super Secret Secret Squirrel is actually a sequel to the original Secret Squirrel. And in this series, this Secret Squirrel looks a lot more cooler. I mean seriously, you compare him to the old Secret Squirrel to this Secret Squirrel. He is pretty damn cool. And Two Stupid Dogs came out in 1993 and ended in 1995, and it has 26 episodes. And basically it's about two dogs who gets into all sorts of hijinks, and they are very, very stupid. You have a big one and a small one, dogs I mean. It's just one of those harmless shows that really doesn't do anything, but to me I think it's just a nice fun little cartoon. And Super Secret Secret Squirrel is basically about a secret agent who is a squirrel, and his sidekick is a mole, Morocco Mole, and he has to try and defeat the bad guys. Two Stupid Dogs is one of those series that you could just sit down and just relax to. It's nothing underwhelming or overwhelming. It's just relaxing to watch. I mean, you could call it my guilty pleasure. And speaking of guilty pleasure, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Cow and Chicken and I Am Weasel. Now, Cow and Chicken and I Am Weasel started in 1995, and originally I Am Weasel was like a two-parter when it came to Cow and Chicken. Like, you would get a cartoon of Cow and Chicken and you would get a cartoon of I Am Weasel. And after so long, I think I Am Weasel became its own cartoon. Now, Cow and Chicken had 52 episodes, and I Am Weasel had 79 episodes. And Cow and Chicken and I Am Weasel are, well, they're very, very silly cartoons. Cow and Chicken was like the Ren and Stimpy of Cartoon Network. And if you guys know what Ren and Stimpy is, you'll know what I'm talking about. So basically, it's about a chicken and a cow that lives with their mom and dad in a house. And in every episode, the devil is the enemy. And in I Am Weasel, it's about this genius weasel who has to solve problems thanks to his arch frenemy, I.R. Baboon. And I.R. Baboon is the complete opposite to I Am Weasel. Like Two Stupid Dogs, Cow and Chicken and I Am Weasel is harmless, but it's a fun series. Cow and Chicken was like a guilty pleasure for me, but hey, to me it was fun. The same with I Am Weasel. Okay, well that's said and done. Let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Kids Next Door. Now, Kid Next Door is kind of like a kid's version of Secret Agents, but in this case, the Kids Next Door is fighting against adult tyranny, where they have to fight adults. And to be honest, all the villains in this series is kind of like an exaggeration of what the villains would be in a child's mind, like a crazy cat lady, and you've got the very, very strict father, and you've got like the goody-goody two-shoes kids who tries to please the adults. This series came out in 2002, and ended in 2008, and it had 78 episodes and 3 specials. And the agents are number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, who are the main good guys of the series. Kids Next Door is a fun series to watch for kids. It's one of Cartoon Network's best lineup cartoons. And oh yeah, there was also 2 movies and a few crossovers. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next series is Dexter's Laboratory. And this series started in 1995 and ended in 2003. And it had 78 episodes and a movie. Now, I'm going to say this. The first 2 seasons are a masterpiece. But Season 3 and Season 4 wasn't really that good. So yeah, I'm going to say it now. Season 1 and Season 2 were great. Because it had these like reoccurring characters that would pop up sometimes. Like the Justice Friends, Dial M for Monkey. They would just be reoccurring characters. Now, Dexter's Lab is about a boy genius that creates all sorts of stuff in his secret laboratory. And nobody knows about his secret lab other than his sister Dee Dee. And Dexter creates all sorts of things. And he's either trying to overcome a problem or he's trying to figure something out. And Dee Dee comes in and screws everything up. And Dial M for Monkey was a monkey that lived in Dexter's lab, but he was also a secret agent. And the Justice Friends was a parody of the stereotypical heroes. Like I said, you rarely saw them in the series. But near the end of Season 2, it's just so freaking awesome. Dexter's lab is loads of fun. Dexter's crazy inventions and how he's trying to figure how to fix everything. It's just a funny, fun series. And I highly recommend it. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Johnny Bravo. And this series came out in 1997 and it has 65 episodes. Now, I'm going to say this. This series wouldn't last in this PC culture that we're living in today because it's about a white man named Johnny Bravo and he's basically a man-child, but he's always trying to get huge with his muscles and he thinks that's the only way that would help him get girls. And they turn him down every single time. And that is the reason why you should go and watch Johnny Bravo. Not only to piss off the woke crowd, but it's funny. And even though Johnny is kind of like the antagonist, but at the same time he's the protagonist, Johnny isn't really like an evil guy or a bad guy or anything like that. He's just one of those characters that you feel sorry for because how much of an idiot he is. And Johnny does have a heart, he really does. And the old gag of the series is he keeps on getting beaten up by women. So yeah, with all said and done, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is a double, and it is X-Men 1992 and X-Men Evolution. Now, to tell you guys the truth, X-Men Evolution was my introduction to the X-Men. I didn't really watch the 1992 version, but I did watch X-Men Evolution 2000. And basically, X-Men Evolution was kind of sort of the prequel to the original 1992 X-Men, but not really. X-Men Evolution was its own thing, kind of like different dimensions, all that stuff. And the 1992 one, well, like I said, I wasn't really into it, but I do know of the significance of it. But like I said, X-Men Evolution was my X-Men, which is why I decided to put these two together. I know 1992 wasn't on Cartoon Network, and X-Men Evolution was, but if I had to choose which one, I would say definitely X-Men Evolution, but don't cross off the 1992 version, because that too itself is a good series, and its opening is fan-freaking-tastic. So yeah, with that said, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is The Real Adventures of Jonny Quest. Now, even though this was an Hanna-Barbera cartoon, and there has been other incarnations of Jonny Quest, this series of Jonny Quest was the more darker one. The CGI is fantastic, the animation's fantastic, the adventures that Jonny goes on is fantastic. This was my introduction to Jonny Quest. And if you guys want to go and check out its other incarnations, you can do that too. But make sure you guys go and check out the 1996 one first. And so with that said, let's move on to the next one. And the next series is The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Now, to be fair, I wasn't really into this series. I would catch it on TV, there and there. But I couldn't really get into it. But I do know what it's about. This series came out in 2001 and ended in 2007. And it's about 2 kids, Billy and Mandy, and they have misadventures with their friend, Grim, who is the Grim Reaper. Now, originally there was another segment. It used to be called Grim and Evil. One was about Billy and Mandy and Grim, and the other segment was about this evil dictator who was a brain in a jar, and he was attached to a bear. And he tries all sorts of things to try and take over the world while trying to find his parts. And you know what? I can see why that segment didn't last that long, but I guess it was just okay. But even though I wasn't into Billy and Mandy, I could see that Billy and Mandy was the best show. And basically, it's about 2 kids who is friends with the Grim Reaper. And they get into all sorts of misadventures, including monsters, the afterlife, all that sort of stuff. Grim, Billy, and Mandy have a love-hate relationship, but hey, that's fun. Billy's an idiot, Grim is cynical, and Mandy is, well, evil. Okay, I think evil is a strong word, but she's sort of like grim, cynical. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. Let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. Okay, technically this isn't, strictly for kids. More like maybe for teenagers to adults. And some people say that, oh, this series isn't that good. But to me, this is one of those guilty pleasures. For me, I just think this series is just funny. And it's about an ex-superhero called Harvey Birdman. And in this series, he's actually a lawyer. And also in the series, all of the Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters, okay, not all of them, but quite a few of them, like Yogi Bear, the Flintstones, the Jetsons, all that sort of stuff, goes to Harvey Birdman. And they ask him to be their lawyer. And that's basically it. And he's trying to win cases for his employees or employer. This series came out in 2001 and ended in 2007. And it had 39 episodes. It's a surreal series, but it's a fun series. And so, let's move on to the final one. And the final series is Over the Garden Wall. It has 10 episodes, and it came out in 2014. And it's about two brothers who's trying to find their way home, and they come across all sorts of surreal stuff on the way home. It's kind of like Alice in Wonderland, but at the same time, it's a kid-friendly version of Dante's Inferno. And it has possibly one of the scariest villains in any cartoon. And each episode is 11 minutes long. It's a great series, highly recommend it, and that's all I've got to say. And that, my friends, is my list of cartoons that you should go and check out from Cartoon Network. Now, I know some people are going to say, and they're going to say, oh, but Geek Freak, what about all these other cartoons? Like, the ones I used to watch as well. Well, the thing is, I didn't watch those shows that you guys are probably thinking, oh, where's this series? Or, oh, where's that series? Like I said, I do apologise if your favourite series isn't on this list, but these are the cartoons that I watched. So I humbly apologise, your favourite cartoon series from Cartoon Network wasn't on this list. This is all just an opinion, and they are the cartoons that I watched. And if you guys want to give your own suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below of what your favourite cartoon from Cartoon Network is. And so, let's move on to Disney. Now, even though I've already done Disney with Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy and all that stuff, those cartoons were just shorts of characters that we all know and love. And before I carry on, I just want to say, I know I went over the top 20 when it came to the Cartoon Network cartoons, but I thought to myself, you know what, screw it, I'll just have more. And that's what I'm going to do with the Disney series. And when it comes to the Disney ones, I'm going to do the same like we did with the Cartoon Network ones, but I'm going to go a little bit faster. And there isn't going to be a top 10 or a top 20. It's only going to be a series that I know and I've watched. And I'm going to do the best of the best first. So that way you guys can go and check out those ones first. And then make your way down the list. And if your favourite cartoon from Disney isn't on there, remember, it's just my opinion. Okay, with that said, let's move on to the Disney series. Now the first one I think needs to be on this list is DuckTales. And I'm talking about the original DuckTales. This series had over 100 episodes, and it had one film. Now, even though I do love the 2017 DuckTales, like it has a continuous story, DuckTales also had a continuous story. Like in some episodes it would be like a continuous story, and sometimes it would go back to the status quo. I mean, not like as in something like Family Guy, but it knew how to keep continuity. Well, most of the time anyways. Now, this series is an absolute must. In the new DuckTales, it seems more lighter to me. It seems too, light-hearted, it seems too bright and colourful, but that's not to say there's anything wrong with that. But the original DuckTales was much more darker, because there were some episodes in the original DuckTales that was kind of terrifying. Well, terrifying is a strong word, but like I said, the original DuckTales had great music, the episodes were dark, and there are some things in this series that you wouldn't see today. Now, I'm not going to say that the original DuckTales was better, because there was a lot of good things in the new DuckTales series that was better, like Huey, Dewey and Louie, and we finally got to see their mom. But the original DuckTales in 1987 was good in its own right. So if you're a fan of the new DuckTales, I highly recommend you go and check out the original DuckTales. I promise you guys, it will be worth your time. And so that's it, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. It came out in 1988, and it had 65 episodes. Now, there is a movie coming out in the future, and it's actually based on this series. And it's basically about two chipmunks, a mouse, a rat, and a fly named Zipper. And the two chipmunks was Chip and Dale, the rat was Monterey Jack, and of course there's Gadget, which is a mouse. And they go around helping other animals. And I'm going to tell you guys something now, this series was fun. This series had some really good morals in it. And it doesn't just, flat out say, oh look, see, this person learned the lesson. They just do it very, very subtly within the series. And the theme song, OMG, the theme song is so good. So yeah, once you've finished watching DuckTales, make sure you watch Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers next. And so, let's move on to the next one. Okay, now that I've got those two out the way, I'm going to make a quick list. Here we go. There's Tailspin, Darkwing Duck, Gargoyles, which is awesome. I highly recommend you guys go and check that out. Gargoyles is dark and cool. There's Recess, about a bunch of kids having fun during recess. There's The Little Mermaid. There's Aladdin. There's Buzz Lightyear Star Command, which is goofy and fun. There's Fillmore. There's Goof Troop, Winnie the Pooh, Gummy Bears, The Legend of Tarzan, Kim Possible, Lloyd in Space, Lilo and Stitch, The House of Mouse, and last and simply not least, Gravity Falls. Yeah, I know I went through all those very fast, but if there's anything that you want to ask, just leave it in the comment sections below and I'll tell you guys what you want to know about the series that I mentioned in this segment. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is the Nickelodeon segment. Again, if your favourite cartoon isn't on this list, I do apologise. And I'll start off with Ren and Stimpy. Ren and Stimpy was one of those gross out cartoons. And also, it was very surreal. It's one of Nickelodeon's best cartoons. Okay, moving on. The next one is Hey Arnold. And again, this is also one of Nickelodeon's greatest cartoons. It's about a kid that goes through whatever 8 to 10 year olds go through, and he's got to try and figure out how to fix things. And it isn't just that, there's also other things as well. He's basically a man-child, but in this case, Arnold is more wise beyond his years, despite being an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old. It can be funny, it can be a bit scary, and there's rarely any bad episodes. And you know what, you just can't go wrong with Hey Arnold. It's just so goddamn good. And the next series is Rugrats / All Grown Up. Now, when it comes to this series, Rugrats is about a bunch of babies living everyday life, and whenever the adults talk about something, the babies think that that's something else, because, hey, they're babies. The Rugrats was one of Nickelodeon's greatest shows on TV back in the day. Now, I know I said this with Hey Arnold, but no, literally, the Rugrats was a fantastic, well, it still is a fantastic cartoon. And its sequel, All Grown Up, is okay too. It's when the babies are all grown up into teenagers or kids or something, and they have to deal with everyday teen life. But Rugrats is 100% the series that you guys must watch. There's the Angry Beavers, Cat Dog, the Wild Thornberrys, Danny Phantom. There was the Fairly Odd Parents, which is one of Nickelodeon's best series. The best seasons is season 1 all the way to season 8. And after season 8, it just got stale from there. But the first 8 seasons are fantastic. And the next one is Invader Zim. And there's Rocko's Modern Life, which is another surreal cartoon. It's kind of like Ren and Stimpy, except less surreal. And last but simply not least, the most important Nickelodeon cartoon series is Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, this series is an absolute must. And I really mean that. It is an absolute 100% must. Like, it comes first before all the other cartoons I've mentioned on this list. It had 3 seasons, but it also had a comic book continuously. So remember, please go and check out Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's one of the greatest cartoons of all time. And that, my friends, is... So yeah, that's all the Nickelodeon cartoons. Now that I've got the segments out of the way, from now on, I'm going to be doing cartoons individually. Now, do you guys remember in the Hanna-Barbera segment where I said there are some cartoons that I did miss that was made by Hanna-Barbera, but because those cartoons were so big, I decided to give them their own segments? Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be doing individual cartoons from anywhere. And I'll start off with the world's greatest cat and mouse duo, the one, the only, Tom and Jerry. Now, like the Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry has that legendary status. Like, everybody knows who Tom and Jerry is. Like, for example, when you look at Bugs Bunny, you automatically know who Bugs Bunny is. And when you see Mickey Mouse, you know who Mickey Mouse is. And Tom and Jerry is up there somewhere with Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny. Now, there has been loads of incarnations of Tom and Jerry, but the cartoons that you guys want to look for is the Tom and Jerry cartoons that started in 1940 to 1967. Those are the golden age of Tom and Jerry, and they had around 161 episodes. And like I said, I know there's like other incarnations of Tom and Jerry that came after 1967, but these are the ones that you guys have to go and watch. These are the golden age of Tom and Jerry, and the cartoons get better and better and better as the cartoons of Tom and Jerry goes on. So yeah, it's this Tom and Jerry that you guys want to go and look for. Now, there is a box set to the Tom and Jerry cartoons, but the problem is that box set is, well, it's censored. They censored a lot of cartoons because of the old blackface thing. So whatever you do, don't get the box set unless the box set says, okay, this is the uncut version of Tom and Jerry. So I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of a warning for that. Okay, so now we've done Tom and Jerry, let's move on to a dog. And the dog is Scooby-Doo. Now the thing is, Scooby-Doo is also from Hanna-Barbera, but Scooby-Doo is so big that it deserves its own segment. Now again, Scooby-Doo has had a lot of incarnations, other series, other movies, etc, etc. And he has had quite a few good incarnations. There was Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? from 1960 to 1970, and there was the new Scooby-Doo movies that had celebrities with them, and there was the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo from 1985. Now these are my favourite incarnations of Scooby-Doo. Now that's not to say that the other incarnations of Scooby-Doo was bad. In fact, they were good too. There was the new Scooby-Doo show, Be Cool Scooby-Doo, and you know what, I even have a soft spot for Scrappy-Doo. Yeah, I know he was annoying, I know he was a pain in the backside, but I kinda liked him. And I said, kinda. Too much of Scrappy-Doo was too much of Scrappy-Doo. But just like Tom and Jerry, Scooby-Doo was really big and had loads of incarnations. So as soon as you've watched the ones that I've mentioned, go and watch all the other incarnations of Scooby-Doo, including the movies, because there's quite a few of them. Scooby-Doo is legendary status, like Tom and Jerry or Bugs Bunny, one of the best cartoon characters ever. Okay, now we're done with Scooby-Doo, let's move on to the next one. The next one is Batman, the animated series. Again, Batman has had loads of incarnations, live action movies, animated series, animated movies. There was Batman Brave and the Bold, The Batman, all those were good, but nothing beats the original, and that is Batman the Animated Series 1992. This series of Batman is possibly the greatest Batman incarnation ever. In fact, it was actually this series that started the DC animated series. There was Batman, of course, there was Superman, Static Shock, Batman Beyond, and of course the Justice League. This series of Batman is one of the greatest cartoon series you'll ever see. It was dark, it was tragic, it was sad, it made you question things. It had 85 episodes, but it came back and it had another 24 episodes. Batman the Animated Series was one of those series that was always serious. So Batman the Animated Series 1992 is one of those series that should be at the front of you guys go and check out. It's just that good. And as soon as you've watched this series, please go and check out its sequel, Justice League and Batman Beyond. And so let's move on to the next one. And another one that is a frontrunner, and that is The Real Ghostbusters. It was made in 1986 and ended in 1991, and it had 140 episodes. And it had a sequel series called The Extreme Ghostbusters. And there's also another series called The Filmation Ghostbusters, or aka The Other Ghostbusters, which is completely unrelated to The Real Ghostbusters. Like I said, The Real Ghostbusters is one of the frontrunners for you guys to go and check out. I wouldn't say that they're on par with something like Tom and Jerry or the Looney Tunes, but The Real Ghostbusters is one of those cartoons that is big. This series is a combination of silly and dark, and it can be scary at times. The Real Ghostbusters is fan-freaking-tastic, and I highly recommend it. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Peter Pan and the Pirates, made in 1990 and ended in 1991, and it had 65 episodes. Now, if you've seen the Disney version of Peter Pan, you've basically got the general idea of who Peter Pan is. You know, going on adventures, fighting the pirates. And just to let you guys know, this series is unrelated to the Disney film. It's just its own thing, and it was fantastic. I wouldn't say that it was up there with Tom and Jerry, but I will say, it is definitely worth a watch. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, like Tom and Jerry and the Looney Tunes and the Flintstones, etc., Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is big. You have the 1987 version and the 2003 version, which are both the great versions of the franchise. And there's also other reincarnations of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in series form, in movies, in games. But these two versions, 1987 and 2003, are the best of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And with that said, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is The Pink Panther. And again, this is a series that has loads of incarnations, and it started in 1969. It has a few live action movies, but that was all about the Inspector. But that's a completely different story altogether. The first Pink Panther show had 190 episodes. The Pink Panther just got into all sorts of hijinks, and he has to try and solve them, and he just doesn't talk. He's like Tom and Jerry, where he doesn't say a word. But saying that, the Pink Panther cartoons were relaxing to watch. I wouldn't say the Pink Panther cartoons were fantastic or anything, but they were relaxing. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next series is The Animals of Farthing Wood. Now this series, this series is fan-freaking-tastic. It had 3 seasons, and it's based off of a book series. The first season is about a bunch of animals trying to get to another park that's protected by humans because their original home was destroyed. And the second season is about them adjusting to the park, and the third season is about them protecting the park. And this series has the sort of Game of Thrones in this series, where characters actually die. It really doesn't pull its punches, and you know what, that's why I like it so much. Well, the first season anyways, but the third season wasn't really that good. But saying that, The Animals of Fathom Wood is a fantastic series and I highly recommend it. And it came out in 1993. This is one of those mature cartoons. Like, it's still for kids, but at the same time, you know why it's mature, if you know what I mean. And now, let's move on to the next one. And the next series is Inspector Gadget. And it's about a police officer or inspector who is also a robot, and he can basically do anything. And he goes, "Go, go, Gadget, something, something." And he has to foil Dr. Claw's plans of, you guessed it, taking over the world. Of course, I can do a good Claw impression.
"I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time."
Okay, that's my Dr. Claw impression. I mean, yeah, Inspector Gadget can be a little bit annoying at times, but it's still a charming series. And the series started in 1983. And the next series is The Flintstones. Again, like Tom and Jerry and Bugs Bunny, The Flintstones is another big series. It had loads of spin-offs, loads of reincarnations, and it started in 1960 and had 166 episodes. And it's basically about Fred, Wilma, his best friend Barney, and his wife Betty going on with their everyday life. And it's basically The Simpsons, except it's in the Stone Age. And you know what? I love The Flintstones. It is a definite must from me. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next series is Count Duckula. And this is a British cartoon. It had 65 episodes, and it was made in 1988. Now, I'm not going to lie, when it comes to Count Duckula, it's kind of a hit and miss. I mean, I liked it when I was really, really young. And it's basically about a vegetarian duck who happens to be a vampire. And this series was a spin-off from Danger Mouse. And speaking of Danger Mouse, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Danger Mouse. And this series came out in 1981, and it had 89 episodes. And it's about the greatest secret agent in the world. He's the ace. He's amazing. He's the strongest, he's the quickest, he's the best. Danger Mouse. Sorry, I got in the zone there for a second. And it's basically about this mouse, who is the greatest secret agent in the world. And he has to stop the bad guys. And, funnily enough, in 2015, Danger Mouse got a revival. And Count Duckula is in it. Danger Mouse was one of those cool characters from the 80s. And I highly recommend it. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Thunder. 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 Thundercats. Ho! And this series was made in 1985. And it had 130 episodes. Now, in a way, this series is kind of like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Well, in a way. And it's about these alien, half-breed, human cat hybrids. And their leader, Lionel, has to defeat the evils of Mumm-Ra. I mean, the opening to this series is fan-freaking-tastic. And also, it has other incarnations like the 2011 one, which to be fair, I didn't see. But there's one incarnation of the Thundercats that I highly recommend you guys don't, I repeat, don't watch, and that is Thundercats Roar. For the sake of your children, please don't watch Thundercats Roar. Just watch the 1985 version and the 2011 version. Thundercats is one of those cool sort of cartoons, and I highly recommend it. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next series is The Animaniacs / Pinky and the Brain, and it came out in 1993, and it had 99 episodes. And its spin-off show, Pinky and the Brain, which was a segment in The Animaniacs, but it became its own thing later, it had 65 episodes, and it ran from 1995. These two series are fan-freaking-tastic. The Animaniacs had pop culture, education for kids, it was fun, funny, and Pinky and the Brain was basically the same, but it had its own unique flavour. And Pinky and the Brain also had a sequel called Elmira Pinky and the Brain, and also Pinky and the Brain and the Animaniacs had a reboot. But if I had to say which one you should go and check out first, I highly recommend the 90s Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain. The 90s version is much better. But hey, don't take my word for it. If you guys want to go and check out both shows and compare them to the new one, then please be my guest and make up your own minds which one do you like the best. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next series is The Jetsons, and it came out in 1962, and it had 75 episodes. And it's about this futuristic family in a futuristic world where robots are maids, and the only thing that people do for work is just press buttons and flying cars and going into space, aliens, and all that futuristic stuff. This series was kind of like The Flintstones, you know, the family unit, problems with everyday life. But in my honest opinion, I think The Flintstones is the better out of the two. But saying that, The Jetsons had its charm, and it did predict a few things of technology what we're going to have in the future. Now, if only we could just have a future where we could just sit down and just press a button all day to make ends meet, I mean, that would be awesome. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next series is the Peanuts series, or Charlie Brown and Snoopy. Now this one's a little bit difficult for me because the Charlie Brown and Snoopy show only had 18 episodes, and it had plenty of movies, and it had educational films, and specials, and documentaries. The Charlie Brown and Snoopy show started in 1983, but I think there was other Charlie Brown and Snoopy related stuff before this series. You know, specials, films, educational stuff, you know, all that stuff. And in 2016, it had another series, and in 2019, it had a series called Snoopy in Space. And in 2021, it had another series called The Snoopy Show. I wasn't really into this series, but I would watch a few episodes from this series there and there. And I do know the significance of this series. So you guys are going to have to go and check out for yourselves and see what you guys think. And now, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Betty Boop. Now, Betty Boop came out in the 1930s, and she's been in 126 shorts. And yes, these are all, well, most of them are in black and white. But I highly recommend you guys go and check out 1932, the Betty Boop series, which had 90 episodes. It is in black and white, but they are fun to watch, and even if they did try to put them into colour, which you can do now these days, I prefer the black and white version of Betty Boop. She's a classic and I highly recommend her. And so, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is Popeye the Sailor Man. And Popeye came out in 1933. And Popeye has had a lot of cartoons, black and white, colour. In 1933 to 1942, he had 109 cartoons. In 1942 to 1957, he had 122 cartoons. In 1960 to 1962, he had 220 cartoons. In 1978 to 1981, he had 134 cartoons. 1987, 2001, he had 194 episodes. Popeye is an icon. Popeye is the original One Punch Man, and his main point was to always stick up for yourself and always eat your spinach if you want to get stronger. And you know what? I love Popeye. He's just an all-about fun character. And so, let's move on to number 100. The grandfather of all cartoons. He was one of the first cartoons that inspired all cartoons after him. Give it up for the one, the only, Felix the Cat. And his first appearance was 1919. 25 cartoons by Paramount Pictures. 64 episodes by Margaret J. Williker, 78 cartoons by Educational Pictures, and in 1958 he had 260 episodes, and then another 21 after that, and another 65 after that, from 1958 to the year 2000, called Baby Felix. Even though Felix isn't, that relevant, he is the one who started it all, and let's hope he'll be in more cartoons in the future. And that, my friends, is the 100 cartoons that the younger generation should go and check out. And I'm telling you guys, this video took a hell of a long time to make. Now listen, I know what some people are going to say, and they're going to say something like, "Oh, Geek Freak, how can you not put this cartoon on this list? You forgot this, you forgot that. There's a version of Scooby-Doo that I like that you didn't put on this list. And you didn't give that much information on certain cartoons." Like I said, this is the 100 greatest cartoons that I've watched, or one or two of them that I've heard of, that the younger generation should watch. And there has been some of them that I haven't seen, and that's why they're not on this list. And there are cartoons, well, one or two of them, that I haven't seen, but they do deserve to be on this list. And again, from the beginning, I did say there wouldn't be any anime in this video. It would just only be Western cartoons, and no movies. It was just series. And I do apologize if your favorite cartoon isn't on this list. However, in the future, I will do follow-up lists. Like, after when you've seen all these cartoons on this list, there will be another 100 cartoons for you guys to go and check out. And I did mention all these cartoons were made before 2015. Well, 99% of them anyways. The whole idea of this video was to get the word out there about these cartoons. Like, oh, these are the cartoons that you guys have to go and check out. They're really awesome. And that's to say that the others that aren't on this list is bad. But these are cartoons that I've seen or comes to mind, or I know is one of the greatest cartoons ever to me. So this is what I'm going to do. In the future, I'll make another list for another 100 cartoons that you guys should go and check out. And then cartoon movies or anime, that sort of stuff. I just got so sick and tired that the younger generation hasn't got to see any of these awesome shows from back in the day. And that's why I made this list. I want the younger generation to go and check out these cartoons. But again, I will make another list in the future, either series or movies, like another 100 Western cartoons for the younger generation to check out, then the movies, then anime. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So, what do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Which of these cartoons do you like the most? Or is there a cartoon that wasn't on this list that you wish that was on this list? Do you miss the old cartoons? Please let me know in the comment sections below and let's get a discussion going. I'm Geek Freak. Peace out. Thank you guys for watching. And if there's a series you want me to check out and review and give my thoughts on it, or if there's a top 10 list you want me to do, or any reactions, or responses, or rants on anything geeky, just leave links and comments in the comment sections below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Don't forget to like, subscribe, put the bell on, share this video, and leave a comment in the comment sections below. And as for my social medias, I'm literally freaking everywhere! I'm on most video platforms, social medias, forums, and support sites. It's best to pause the video and see where I am. Literally all this is down in the description box below. So if you want to go and check those out, please do. I'm Geek Freak. Peace out.